Okay. Um, okay. 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 So today, what we are going to be discussing today is supporting and challenging students to be their best. It is important we discuss this because we all understand, we all know that it is something our students are very important when it actually comes to learning, and we need to always make sure that they get the best, especially during this period that this COVID-19 period that we have a lot of challenges as regards learning, and a lot of students are out of school, and some parents are the one homeschooling their children. So it is important we discuss, as one of the duties of our organization, it is important we discuss um, how best we can actually ensure effective teaching and learning for students, especially this period and the period beyond. So we are going to be taking you through ways you can actually support students, encourage students, and at the same time, setting them for success. So my name is Abdulaziz Adisadiwale, as you can see on the screen, and I'm a program coordinator at D-Tutors. Basically, what we do at D-Tutor is that we provide home tutoring, online tutoring, and center tutorial services. So I'm going to be taking you through how to support and challenge students to be their best. So, okay, let's actually kick off on effective teaching and effective learning. But before we actually discuss the topic, it is important we actually talk about what we really mean by effective teaching or effective learning. So a learning or a teaching is actually effective when we can actually say that the purpose of teaching or the purpose of learning is actually achieved. Do you understand? That is for us to be able to get results for the students, and for them to be able to perform well in the exam, and at the same time to grow up to be better adults. That is the essence and that is the importance. Okay. Now, I'm going to be kicking off the program by actually letting us to know what do we mean by supporting and what do we mean by challenging students to be their best. Okay, we have this, okay, see, so as we can see, okay, so as you can see here, now supporting and challenging students. So, and just the way I tell people that effective teachers, they do not only, effective teachers, they do not only care about their students, they do not only support their students, they also take a firm line, that is what I tag as tough caring. Supporting and challenging students to be their best are two sides of a coin. That is, you can't be supporting students, you can't be caring for students, or you can't be caring for your children if you're in a position of homeschooling your children without you also challenging them to be their best in their academics, even in life, because learning is a lifelong activity, and we need to be conscious of the fact that we need to set our children, we need to set them, okay, get this thing. Okay, now we need to set our children for success in any situation or circumstance we've actually found ourselves. Either you're a tutor or you're a teacher. Effective teachers do not only support or care for their students, but they also take a firm line. This is summed up as a what? As a tough caring. They need to actually what? They need to um, they need to be tough. At the same time, they also need to care for the students for them to be able to learn. Okay. Now, um, now, when we say supporting and challenging students, it is important we talk about what we mean by supporting and what we mean by what challenging students. Now, as you can see on the screen, I've been able to give a kind of introduction so that you can get to understand what we mean when we say supporting and challenging students. That is top caring. That is, we need to care for the students, we need to care for our children, and at the same time, we also need to also challenge them for success, because they need to be challenged to be their better self. Now, why do we need to support our students, or why do we need to support our children? That is very important. And the major reason you need to support your child or your students is to help them to build their self-esteem, is to help them to build their what? Their self-esteem. That is very, very important. So it helps us to be able to what? To build their self-esteem. What do we understand by self-esteem, or what do we mean by self-esteem? Basically, it is actually building their self-belief. It is building their self-confidence, being able to believe in themselves as students, and being able to believe in what they can actually do as students. So if you support your students, if you care for your students, definitely you're going to help them to build their self-esteem. Now, and students that have a very high self-esteem, students that have a very high self-esteem, what are those things that differentiate them from other students, or children that have sense of self-esteem? What are those things that stand out in their qualities, or their characteristics, or their attributes? Now we can actually see we have attributes of students with high self-esteem. Number one is that students with high self-esteem, they are optimistic. They are always looking at the positive side of life, no matter the situation or the circumstance they found themselves in learning. So they always make sure that they are always thinking about the bright side of life, and making sure that they actually get the results in everything they do. Number two is that they are always in control and capable of their learning. They are always in control and what? And capable of their learning. Students with high self-esteem, they tend to be in control and capable of their learning. They don't just learn they don't just learn as if it is just like maybe it's a mistake, or they maybe it is not something they cannot actually talk about why they are doing well in school, or why they are not doing well in school. They're always in charge. When they get things right, when they have a very high score in exam, when they are doing well academically, they know, and when they are not doing well academically, they know. So first, on one of the attributes of students with high self-esteem is that they are always in control and capable of their learning. They know when they are getting things right. They don't need to be told, because their self-esteem will definitely let them to understand that. Another attribute of students with high self-esteem is receptive to criticism. When you criticize them, they tend to accept it as a way of moving forward, of getting better. So they accept it as a way of moving forward, of getting better in all they do. So they don't see it as a way of you attacking them, or something like a flight, or something like a fighting back. They see it as, wow, this person that has criticized me, or has done a critical evaluation of my performance in school, really want something good for me. Because we have some children, we have some students that because their parents really want more from them, a lot of them actually go out of their way to even commit suicide, thinking that they are not even capable academically. What their parents want from them is not what they can actually give. It's not that they can't actually give what their parents want from them. It's just the way the parents are saying it, that need to be reviewed, or the way the parents or the student or the tutors, the way they are saying it, need to be reviewed, so that they can be able to perform at their optimum level when it comes to academic performance. And the third and the next attribute is the resilient to setback. Resilient to setback. We notice that students with high esteem, they tend to be resilient to setback. Resilience is an important skill in life. Even beyond academics, in life generally, we have to be resilient. we have to be able to withhold life pressure. So we have students with high self-esteem, they tend to be resilient to setback. They tend to be resilient to what? To setback. And the last I'm going to be talking about is that our students with high self-esteem also believe that their value as human is not dependent on the knowledge or the skills acquired. Is not dependent on the knowledge or the what or the skilled acquired. So they always make sure that their personality as human is not dependent on how they perform in school. But at the same time, they still try their best to make sure that they are operating, so they are operating at the optimum level to be able to get results. So that's it. So when you support your child or when you support your student as a tutor, you tend to help your students to improve him or her self-esteem, and improving him or her self-esteem will definitely make your student or your child to be optimistic, looking at the brighter side of life, and at the same time to be in control and capable of their learning. And they are also receptive to setback. They are receptive to what? To setback, and resilient to, they are receptive to criticism, resilient to setback, and they believe in their value as human. It is not depending on what people say or the knowledge or the skill they've actually acquired. It's dependent on what they think of themselves, and that is very important. So if we consider all this as important things that you want in your child, as important qualities you want in your students, why don't you help your students? Why don't you support your students? Why don't you care for your students enough to be able to build him or our self-esteem? So we are going to be discussing what are the ways you can help your child or you can help your student to build their self-esteem. Now, the first thing I'm going to be discussing about, okay, tips for supporting students. Tips for supporting students. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is this, okay? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is this tips for supporting students. Now, so we're going to be, the first thing is believe in your students. Believe in your student. That is very, very important. You should learn how to picture the success of your new student or of your child over maybe the coming week, the coming months, or the coming years. Sit with them and try to envision the success of your student. When you envision it, you can be able to tell your student that this is what I've actually seen. In next year, you're going to be in social class. In next week, we should be able to complete this topic because I know you have the strengths. I know you have the ability. I've seen it, I've envisioned it. Let them to assume, like, you should always be in a position to what? To assume that your students are doing well. Even though they are performing below standard, still believe in their ability because every child is wired to learn, irrespective of the challenges or the learning challenge that a student may be facing at a particular period in time. Number two is express your positive expectation repeatedly. Express your what? Your positive expectation repeatedly. That is, anytime, always let your students know, I know you can do it. I know you have the right thing. I know you have the ability. Try to let them to know that I know to learn sometimes could be hard, but that doesn't mean that you cannot actually learn. It may take you time. We have the story of great men in the history of human history that it started even from like the art struggle learning. So we have a lot of them like Albert Einstein, among others. Even some even suffer from autism, dyslexia, among others. These are learning challenges. But their parents, they still have the opportunity to even look into their children's eyes, even their tutors. Some are motivated by their parents, some are motivated by their tutors to look into their eyes and express their positive expectation repeatedly. This is what I want from you. I know you are capable of it. That is what I want it. So by the time you express your positive expectation repeatedly as regards your children learning, definitely he is going to try to what? So the student will assume it, we take it as his or her own. So that is one of the ways to care and support your student by expressing your what? Positive expectation repeatedly. And the next I'm going to be discussing is praise student appropriately. So praise is important. I tell our tutors and I tell some parents, try to praise your child if possible twice. It's not even if possible, twice than you criticize. And there are different ways you can actually praise your students. One of the ways is making sure that you can praise them publicly by, as a tutor, you can praise them in the presence of their parents. You can praise them in the presence of their parents. You can even privately, anytime you give them class work, you praise them that I know you can actually do it. You have the strength, you have the ability. All those things are very, very important. Also, you can also praise them officially by giving them gifts, maybe on prize day, all those stuff. So in the course of helping and supporting students, it is important we do not take for granted praising of the students. Praising students is one of the ways we can actually help and support our students, and it will definitely work, because when you praise them, it gives them that encouragement to do more. And it shows that you really care for them. And okay, we have other tips. Now, praise students in public, in which I've actually discussed it with them. Learn how to praise students in public. There are some parents, they are funny. Anytime they want to deal with their child, or they want to scold their child, or they want to beat their child, they beat their child in public. What you are doing is that you are reducing the self-esteem of that child, because the child already knows that you are beating me in the presence of others. There's no even points even changing, because everybody already knows that I'm not serious. So these are those things we need to put into consideration. Learn how to praise your child publicly. And if you want to deal with your child privately, because they also have self-esteem. They're human, they have feeling. And there's something we call self-respect. They also demand respect in the sense of how you deal with them, and that is very important. Another thing is take pride in your students' progress. Take pride in your students' progress. That is also very important. Wow, I'm amazed at your progress. You've come a long way, like, wow, I'm amazed. You're really doing a great thing. You understand it? Always make them to feel like, wow, I'm really proud of you. When your child does well in his or academics, you are keeping quiet. You understand it? As tutor, you don't just act as if you're strong, you're strong, you're strong. At the end of the day, you don't give room for praise. You don't even give room for, like, I'm proud of you. I know we have 7 steps to go. Now you've mastered the maybe 4 steps or 5 steps out of 7 steps. So for you to master that 4 step, I'm very sure you should be able to master the remaining 3 steps. That child will be able to, wow, telling the parents what we learned today. I don't even know that the child can easily understand or get it. So all these things, taking pride in your student progress is very, very important, and it is needed in the course of supporting and caring for your student or your child. Encourage your student to take pride in their achievements. Let them to take pride in their achievements. Wow, aren't you proud of yourself? See, you've gone a long way. You understand it? Wow. If you could do this, you can actually do some other thing. Teach them how to take pride in themselves. Don't let them look down on themselves. All these things are very important, and they are needed to help your child or your student to be a great achiever when it comes to academics. Now, we still have other tips that you can actually help. Now, another thing is you are meant to discourage, okay, so treat every student as unique and special. You understand it? You are in a class as a teacher, you are teaching like about 2 or 3 or 4 students. Anytime I'm having a class with my students, every child, even you're doing what I don't like, you're not getting what I'm teaching you the way I want it, I'm still going to tell you how special you are, how important you are. I give my students different name when it comes to encouragement. I treat them uniquely and I let them to know that they are special. Wow, I was taking a student yesterday and oh wow, Angel, don't you know that you're brilliant? So I'm going to be calling you brilliance. Do you understand me? Let them to know that they're amazing, they are doing great, they are smart. You understand? Always treat them as, wow, you've done a great thing. Treat them as unique and special. We give students the opportunity, the sense that I'm cared for, I'm supported, and this will help them to build their self-esteem. Because I told you, their self-esteem will definitely help them to be better learner. And for them to be better learner, for you to be able to build their self-esteem, you need to encourage them. You need to discourage negative self-talk. If your student or your child tells you, I can't do it, always let them to know that they can actually do it. It may appear hard now, but that doesn't mean they cannot do it. That is very important. A lot of people, we live in a generation whereby we have a lot of things going on in the mind of people, even students. So it is important we encourage them. It is important we discourage negative self-talk and encourage positive self-talk. Let them to say something good to themselves. Let them to tell themselves that they are great. Even you need to even come up with lines and tell them to repeat after you, so that the more they do it, the better they feel. I tell my students most of the time, most of my students, they know me for this. Anytime you meet me, anytime I see you and you come around and you tell me that, oh, I can't do this, I'm having challenges in this area or that, I just tell you, can you remember this quote? Have you watched this film, Aquila and the Bee? Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Sometimes we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who am I not to be? We are all born to make manifest the glory of God that has been deposited within us. As you let your light to shine, you consciously give other people the permission to do. Don't you know that you're a role model to somebody you know or you don't know? Don't you know that somebody is going to look up to you later or now? So you can't just let them down. Encourage them to be positive. Positive self-talk is important and is actually needed to help the students, for you to care and to support the student. Encourage optimism. Let them to always look at the brighter side. Let them to always look at the brighter side of anything. I could remember when I was actually, that was when I was in secondary school. I've always been a motivated person because I read a lot of books. When I was younger, when I was going to my secondary school, I had already envisioned that I'm going to be head boy, class captain, be one of the best students, and all those things came to pass. You understand? Let them to be optimistic. They don't know what the future holds, but they should always believe that there is a brighter side to every situation or circumstance they've actually found themselves. Use past achievement to point to their future. Using past achievement to point to their future. I know it may be hard sometimes. It may be taking them to do something it may be taking more time to do things that they can actually do once. But at the same time, that doesn't mean they are not going to get it right. They should always remember when they were in primary school, when they were in secondary school, now they are going to the university. And so all these things are important. When they were struggling to do their common entrance, when they were struggling, you pass your common entrance, you pass your JSSC, you pass your WAEC, you're going to pass your JAM. You understand? Because you're still the one. You're not somebody else. And I still believe in your ability. I know you can do it. So all this, let them know. And the same thing applicable to tutors. Oh, when we were doing algebra, you did well. So that doesn't mean you can actually get calculus right. Remember, you had the best result in your last test. Remember that you did well. All this, always remind them of their past achievement to point to their future. So it's going to give them an idea. If I could do it then, I can actually do it now and I can repeat it in the future. See, these are those things we need to put into consideration. And another ways you can actually encourage your students or your child is to foster a positive attitude towards life in general. Try to inculcate the spirit of positivity. Try to inculcate the spirit of positivity in everything they do. That is very important. So when you inculcate the attitude of being positive, being optimistic towards life, definitely is going to pay them off. And actually, I'm assuring you that these are ways that we've tested, and they are proven ways that we've helped our students to improve their self-esteem by being conscious of all these things that I'm discussing. They are applicable, and we do it because our children, our students, they are just privileged, they are opportunity. According to Khalid Gibran, it is even quoted in the book they use for their last JAM UTME. Children, you understand, they come through you. They don't belong to you. They are children of nature. They are entrusted on you by God. It's just a way of God testing you, telling you how far are you going to deal with them. Every teacher has an opportunity. When you teach, see it as a privilege to impart someone's life, because at the end, students don't remember the method. They don't remember the techniques you use in teaching them. They remember you. Anybody who remembers his education will remember the teachers that taught him or her. And let me tell you something, every teacher has different image in the mind of students. So which one do you want to be? Which kind of parent do you want to be? Which kind of tutor do you want to be? Remember, it is an opportunity for you to live bigger than life. You may not have the opportunity of being celebrated globally, but if somebody can celebrate you, you are celebrated globally, because it takes just one person to change the world. If you're thinking of changing the world, what about changing your continent? What about changing your country? What about changing your state? What about changing your community? What about changing your household? What about changing your children, your students, your tutors, your student that you had the opportunity of teaching? What about changing yourself to be a better person to your children, and at the same time to be a better person to help your child, to help your students, to be able to achieve whatever they need to achieve in life? That is very, very important. Now, I'm actually going to be rounding up the supporting and the caring parts with these quotes by Tony Swanston. He said that according to Tony Swanston, pupils tend to respond most positively and learn most effectively when the teacher in front of them is a friendly, approachable figure. It is well known now from research that an individual cannot learn when he or she is feeling threatened. When some form of threat is perceived, the brain will tend to revert to its primitive state of preparation for flight or fight, and learning becomes impossible. That is very important. We need to understand that. So we need to understand that anytime your students or your child feel threatened, they will not be able to listen to you. If they listen to you, they are listening to you out of fear. You are not really teaching. Teaching children out of love. When we have the opportunity of either being kind or being right, I'm going to advise us to always be kind. Children are always like, I love my mother because mothers are always kind. Always try to understand. Even they want to punish the child, they still, like, there's something we call connection, there's something we call empathy, and that is very important when it comes to helping children to become better self, to build their self-esteem. They need to feel connected. They need to feel that, yes, you really care for them. So these are those things we need to put into consideration. Anytime your child, your child or your student feel threatened, it affects their learning. It affects their listening. They're always in the mood of what? Of either flight or what? Or fight. That is human for you. And they will not be able to listen to anything you're telling them. So that is the ways we can actually support our children, the way we can actually support our students. So those things are very important. Now, challenging students, that is the other side of the coin. I said at the beginning of this webinar that supporting and caring for students are two sides of a coin. You can't be supporting students and at the same time not challenging them to be their best in what they do. So it is important. We also discussed the second part, which is challenging students, is the other side of the coin of tough caring. We tag supporting and challenging students tough caring because challenging seems a little bit tough. Why caring show that, wow, is the other soft part. You need to balance it. Now, it is important we talk about challenging students because good teachers do not accept mediocrity from their students. They do not accept mediocrity from their students. And we need to talk about that. And we need to always try to let them know so that they do not accept mediocrity from their students. And that is important. Okay, now we have it. So, but a good teacher, a good tutor actually needs to give positive and critical feedback. They need to be critical and they need to be positive, not always on a negative note. They need to criticize their student behavior, not the student themselves. A lot of people dislike, I don't know, when we were in secondary school, there were some teachers that they will tell you, look, if I teach my dog will be better than you are. That is too harsh. We went to public school and we understand how it is. There are some teachers, they could be so mean. The way they talk sometimes, it just somehow. But at the same time, it is important that you should be able to draw the line between criticizing your student attitude, learning character, and your students or your child. You don't hate the child, you hate what the child does. According to Dr. Gray, he once said, he said that don't belittle pupils. Don't, okay, he said, don't, okay, let me just put this, okay. Now, he said, okay, he said, don't belittle pupils. A moment of thoughtlessness on your part will definitely, so a moment of what, of thoughtlessness on your part can, on your part, and they can remember it forever. If you say a word that are derogatory, that are defamatory, that are not good for their personality, remember, children, remember, for those teachers that did well to us when we were in primary school, in secondary school, even some of our parents, some of the words they tell us, all these children, they are learning. The best way you can actually train your child is through example. It's not by talking sometimes. Most of those things you want them to do, they are looking out for those things in you. And when they don't see it in you, it becomes unnatural. So we should always understand that we need to separate criticism of our students and the character of our students or the learning behavior of our students. You should always know you do not hate them. It is just that you don't like maybe their performance and you think they can actually improve and get better over time. Now, tips for challenging students. How do you challenge your students? How do you challenge your students? So we need to put these tips into consideration. That is important. So just the way we have some tips for how to help your child to become a better, to improve the self-esteem. So we also have tips for challenging your students to be better in academic and to be the best possible. Number one is tell your student the truth, or you tell your child the truth. I know this may sound somehow, You understand? Don't praise mediocrity. If they are not doing well, tell them they are not doing well. You understand it? So in life is a mixture of two. Of course, you have to be positive, but learn to tell them the truth. Don't tell them lies. If they are not doing well, tell them they are not doing well. That's how they're actually going to get better. Telling your child the truth or telling your student the truth will let your child to be like, okay, honesty is actually like you not telling them the truth doesn't mean you're nice. You understand? It is honesty not to be nice sometimes, and that will prove to them that you really care, you genuinely care for them, not that you're just saying it for saying sake. And the second one is challenge others. Train your students or your child to challenge others. It's not to be rude. You understand it? It's not to be rude. You understand? But let them to always see themselves as the best of their kind. And always let them to know that they should not accept second best. They should always be the best in what they do, but moderately. Not that you have to tell them that they have to do it by force, by fire. You have to let them to teach them the best way they can challenge others. If they know other people are doing better than they are doing, what they need to do is to improve the way they do. Is not that creating hatred, creating enmity, and raise the bar. Try to raise the bar of your students. Raise the bar of your students or of your child. You understand it? Now, if you, I used to have a student, and that child, he didn't go to junior secondary school, and I was privileged to teach him. And it was one of my best experience. He's in University of Ilorin now. Tola will always say, my mentor. Then he was young, he was around 8 years of age when he finished his secondary school. And he could not go to his primary school, he could not go to secondary school like that because he's not up to 10 years. And the father said, I can't leave my child at home for average of 2 years and he's not going to be going to school. So I had to train the child throughout secondary school. When he got to senior secondary school, he started from SS1. He was even beating everybody. And what I love about that child is that at a very young age, I've inculcated the spirit of raising his bar. If I give him 2 assignments and he completes it before tomorrow, the next, I'm going to give him 3. Always push them to be better. Don't bring them down. If they couldn't complete the assignment, give them more. Encourage them. Talk to them. Learn to raise their bar. Always give them, because in the course of building, in the course of struggling, they are building a better self. And when you raise the bar, definitely it will help them to become better in what they do. Okay? Another way of challenging your student or your child is frame challenges in a positive light. Well, if your student tells you that, wow, I can't really do all this thing, it is too much now. How are you going to say you can't do all this thing? How are you going to say you can't do all this thing? But I know it is tough. I know it is kind of too many for you to do, but at the same time, it's something you can finish. You understand it? You know you're going to grade 8. You know you're going to the university. You do more. You understand it? Always let them to see challenge in a positive way. Don't let them to, when they tell you they can't do something and you just accept it like that. It shouldn't be like that. You can actually encourage them to improve the way they do. So that is very important. So now, also, we have turnaround complaints. Turnaround complaints. Another way of challenging the students is to turn around complaints of the students. Is to turn around the complaints of the what? Of the students. That is very important. That is very, very important. So when they complain, learn how to put it in the other way. It's just a way of framing challenges in a positive light. And as tutor, we should learn how to use humor. We should learn how to use humor. Humor is like you can't be always too serious. You understand? I'm not sure that that's quite what the examiner will be looking out for. But that doesn't mean let's just pretend this never happened. You understand it? You might have not actually done it the way you expect. So all these things are actually very important to help your students to be better, and it's going to really help them. So far we've been able to discuss the tips that can actually help your student to become better. So the tips that can help your students to become better, you are in terms of challenging them, and in terms of supporting them to be able to build their self-esteem. So all these are practical instances from our years of experience of teaching, and from our tutors, and some tutors that are on board too, they can also testify. So all these things. And at this point, it's already 5:55. We're going to be, it's just a 1 hour webinar, and it's going to be on a weekly basis. And we'll be having another one next week, Sunday too. And we'd love you to join. But at this point, we'd like you to drop your comments, to drop your observation. We'd like to hear from you. So question, your comments, or your clarification. We're going to be unmuting you, so you guys can be able to contribute. You can be able to share your experience. If you know somebody is talking, kindly please, when somebody is talking, try to mute yourself because of background noise. That is very important. So if you have any question, any observation, any clarification, any comments, you can actually drop message in the chat session, or you can drop your question, your comment, or your clarification, or your own contribution, because we believe that as parents, as tutors, we have experiences when it comes to challenging students, or when it comes to supporting students to become better self. Okay, let me try to unmute you guys. Okay. Okay. So you can ask your question if you have any comments. Hello. So if you have any comments, any observation, any clarification, kindly ask the question. You can drop a message. Okay, I can see a message here. Okay. Okay, an interesting and enlightening meeting. Okay. So, wow, that is good. That is from Mr. Yobami. An interesting and enlightening meeting. It is so great. I'm around, learned a lot. I shall work towards other parts. I'm lagging behind. That is actually great. So we like to get other feedback. If you have any comments, any observation, any contribution before we end the program. If you have any comments, any observation, kindly drop. You can, for those who are watching us live on Facebook, you can drop your comments. Mr. Ike, I can actually see you. Thank you for, okay. So there's another message here. We have another message here. Okay. Okay. Thanks for this piece. God will continue to bless you, sir. You're welcome. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure here too. So in the absence of okay, you can be dropping your comments, and if you have any observation, you can always let us know. We've actually unmuted for those who are on Zoom. So you can join us next week, Sunday. We are going to be discussing an important aspect of effective teaching and learning. So now I would like to end this session with this quote by Apollinaire. Come to the edge, he said. They said, we are afraid. Come to the edge, he said. They came, he pushed them, and they flew. So from this, we can actually get that our children, students, are meant to be pushed to be better. So when we push them to be a better self, sometimes at the beginning, they may not want to change. They may be thinking you're doing something bad to them. But at the same time, don't relent. You remember that it is important for their self-esteem, and it is important for them to be able to do it academically. So come to the edge. When you ask your child to come to the edge to do something that is going to improve him or her, your child or your students, if your child said, we are afraid, or your child says that I am afraid, come to the edge, repeat it in a subtle way. They came and you push them and they flew, or they are able to fly. So that is actually very important. So on this note, we are going to be ending today's session. We really appreciate your coming around. It's a pleasure having you guys. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. So in case you have any comments, you can chat us up. So you're welcome. Thank you very much, Mr. Ike. It's a pleasure to having you around. Okay, there's a question. So we're going to be ending the session in just 1 hour. Okay, an enlightening session. So, wow, you're welcome at the Quadri. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much. So, we'll be ending this session today. Thank you very much for coming around. Next week, we're going to be having another session. Wow.